Cool. So, hi, Zoe. So, I'm going to quickly introduce Zoe. She is such an amazing artist, multiple disciplinary. She creates animations and fine art paintings and lots of amazing works of art. Zoe's been creating art for so long, and she has a wide range of things that she can create. She's so multi-talented, and I hope that you guys check out her Instagram page and see Zoco Creative, the business that she's created for herself as an artist and entrepreneur. It's so inspiring to watch her thrive on the internet. And she's going to be sharing with us her journey as an artist to becoming an artist and her background. And then we're going to talk about the work that she's going to be submitting to our group exhibition called Creating Spiritual Freedom, EUDAIMONIA. That's going to be happening at Celestial Art Curation on March 1st, 2025. And she will be there in person with us, which is so exciting. And I'm so happy that you guys will get a chance to meet her and talk to her in person at the event. The event's going to be from 3 to 5 o'clock on March 1st. We're going to do an artist panel discussion where you're going to get to ask Zoe questions in person, continue these conversations in the flesh, in real life, in the same room. So it's going to be such an honor to have her with us physically at the show in March. So we'll have that conversation from 3 to 5 and then flow right into a opening reception from 5 to 8. So you're all welcome to join us. And without further ado, I want to welcome Zoe. Zoe, do you want to quickly just introduce yourself or tell us about, your background as an artist? And my first question I always love to ask is, what was your first memory of creation in your life? Like, how old were you when you remember, maybe a painting or a drawing or someone, a family member or something at school, or just like some random memory that kind of catapulted you into wanting to create things? So go
That's
ahead.
such an interesting question. Like, I love that question. And thanks for having me here, and thanks for having me in the show. I'm really excited about it. So
We're happy to
thank
have
you.
you. Woo.
Um, my first, like, I remember as a kid, like when girlfriends would come over to play, like us drawing. Like that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to color and draw. So I remember like I remember the table we would sit at and like the bin of markers and like I remember doing that. I think that's probably, and I don't know, maybe I was like 6 or 7 or something. I think that's like the first time I really remember like drawing things. And then I remember I stayed after school, maybe in third grade or something, or fourth grade. I stayed after school one day and a girl taught me how to draw like anime girls. And that was like, I know how to draw people now, it was like I specifically remember that like lesson I got from that one like older girl. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I love that. That's so interesting how young girls are. I teach a class at the LaGrange Art League, and all three of the female students are all interested in drawing these like female, like anime kind of style figures. And
Yeah.
they're like obsessed with it. And I'm like, all right, we gotta like make a storyboard. We gotta like develop these characters. We gotta create a setting for them. We have like I'm trying to like prompt.
Yes.
So it's just cute to hear that like you had that similar experience as an adolescent, young girl like drawing other
Yeah.
girls, and that's really special. I like that.
Yeah, it's not like I'm into anime or anything, but it was just like cool she taught me how to draw something that looked like, at least like the cartoons that I drew, it looked like more like a human being than like I had ever been able to do before. I suddenly learned like a way to do it. So it's just
That's
really, I think
yeah.
that sparked my for learning about art.
Yeah. And can you like kind of guide us into like your journey, like into like flourishing as the artist that you are today? Like kind of like just kind of like a quick overview of like, you were in college maybe or in high school. Like were you creating throughout your life, or was there a period where you stopped creating and picked it back up again? Or how did you end up like in this position where you now have your own company and you're creating and doing all the things? Like what was your journey to getting there, I guess?
Yeah. Well, it started ever since I was a kid and I drew all the time. And I just always, yeah, always loved drawing. And then I was like I called myself a chronic doodler. Like I couldn't stop and like class was fun because like I got to doodle during it.
Hmm.
And that uh in high school I took a drawing class and I drew some pretty like decent looking things. I guess. And my mom kind of saw that and she was the one that sort of encouraged me like draw more and do more. And then that got me into I was on yearbook and I got into graphic design. So that's part of what I do for my business. So that took me down that like route of graphic design, which is artistic, but like in a digital way. And
Mm-hmm.
then I never thought I would do anything with art. Like I never had this idea of like I'm gonna be an artist and make a living as an artist. So I also all through high school I danced like competitively. It was like my whole life was dancing, like jazz, lyrical, ballet, that kind of stuff. So when I got to college, I was studying like advertising for like the graphic design kind of thing, and then business, but that like that failed after a year and a half. And I was once again I was doodling through all of this and loving the doodling side of things. And then I found out with animation came into play because I had gone to this like competition for people in creative advertising, and the person who presented the keynote was he had his own animation company and did motion design, and I thought that was like really amazing, especially considering I loved animation. I danced my whole life, so I loved motion, and then drawing on top of that you got to do with motion design and animation. So that like combined all these things that I loved together. So that was like a big inspiration. And I took like two drawing classes in college, but the school I went to didn't really have like these weren't great drawing classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took an oil painting class, and it was like very beginner, very like engineers were in the class. Like nobody was really there to like become an artist. It was just
Yeah.
something that people could take. I
Right.
realized, I mean, I love, pardon me.
It was an elective. Yeah.
Yes, it was an elective.
Mhm.
So I really loved it.
Mhm.
I didn't feel like I learned a whole lot from the class, but I really liked it. So then I mean, 5 years went by. I did became a motion designer and like went like worked at an ad agency in New York. And then I got my master's in animation and thought maybe that's what I wanted to do. But then I kind of realized I had all these different things in my bag that I like doing. And I had a lot of clients asking me to do graphic design projects and like some motion design stuff. And it was like, why don't I just do all of this? So I really wasn't focused on art at all. I did some illustrations and like digital art for people, like special little projects they would ask for. But it came like probably 5 years ago, 4 years ago. My mom redesigned her kitchen and she loves art and she's always been a huge encourage, like always really encouraged me with art. And so she redesigned her kitchen. She collects 50s illustration art and like has it everywhere. So she wanted it all in the kitchen, but there was a big wall that needed like a big something in that era, but like it needed to be painted. And so she
Mhm.
asked me to do it. And that was really like the kickstart of I hadn't painted in 5 years. And I like broke out the oils. I'm like, all right, let's try this. Did a lot of
Fire.
research and like did a lot of like reading and like watching tutorials online to remember how to do it and learn more. And
Mhm.
from that big piece, I was able to get like people coming. Then I had like my parents' friends come and see it, and like I posted it online, and people saw that I painted, and that gave me the opportunity to
Wait,
continue.
question, is this the tree?
Yes,
Is this the pink tree you're talking about?
no,
That was a beautiful
but
one.
that is thank you. That's as a result of those are friends, family friends I grew up with that they came over to our home and they saw it and they like were like, well, we just redesigned our kitchen. Like, can you paint something for it? So it's
Beautiful.
been commission based for the longest time.
Mhm.
And then it wasn't until the last like year I've been able to start painting things for fun, which has been, with the hope of selling them. And I have gotten to sell some of them, thank God. But like that's it's really I've gotten the opportunity honestly because the animation side of work has been very slow. So my husband has like encouraged me to paint more, which I really love. I love making things with my hands. I love not looking at a computer screen. So it's been like a huge blessing that I've been able to do it.
I love that. And I love like the multi-passionate parts of you with dance and animation, graphic design, and like this traditional, tactile like painting on canvas. It's just like it with creative souls, it just like it makes sense. Like you're just creative in every avenue. And I think that's so beautiful. And I love that you like kind of like came full circle back to like painting and now you're
Yeah.
kind of focusing on creating these works of art. So tell us like recently or like when you did get back into painting in this era, like what is your favorite thing to paint? Like what do you feel like the most, like what subjects do you feel like the most attracted to paint, just like intrinsically, or like what does that creative process look like for you, from like sketching, designing, composition, and like figuring out like, your style on canvas, or what subject you want to focus on, or like what have you been doing?
Yeah. I I'm still very much like in the developmental stage of like figuring out my style, and because you can tell like I'm in so many different avenues of creative like
Mhm.
things that I also like I'm interested in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So I I love creating like I love painting landscapes, and that's been a good thing to paint in terms of like being able to sell, because a lot of people like want landscapes in their homes. Like it's beautiful, it's just nature, and
Yeah,
like
and
people
it
are attracted
resonates.
to something.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're attracted to that. So that's and I love that like it's pretty low, it's low pressure, and that
Yeah.
like you're not trying to paint like a person and a likeness. But
Uh,
I've also been blessed to give commissions for portraits, and I really enjoy that as well. And I was able to study in Italy a year ago and like actually do live like models sitting there and you're painting them. And it was I really I love the human form. I love like the idea of bringing like a human to life like on canvas.
mhm.
So I was telling my husband this is something I'm hoping to do a little bit more of this year, is like try to do a couple portraits, because I haven't gotten to do it, haven't gotten commissions lately to do it. So I have a wide array of subjects, but I think mainly I enjoy like landscapes and hopefully some portraiture, but nothing super abstract at this point.
Yeah, no, and I love how, even though like you say nothing abstract, but your landscapes are, they do have this like abstract element to them. Like the tree I was referring to earlier, it's like there's like you did
Oh
this
yeah,
like
yeah.
brush technique with like a circle, and so
Yes.
there's like this cherry blossom, and you could tell like it's representational, but at the same time, it's like
Yeah.
this layer of abstraction, and like this, like this repetition and pattern that you've created through like the shapes of the circle repeating. It has this nice cohesiveness to it, and it's just like it is
Yeah.
abstract. It's not like hyper realistic, and
Right.
you do bring
Right.
out your own, creative flow into it, and the energy that, and you can feel it. And even that blue landscape that I sent you, that
Right.
reminds me of this painting
Yes.
to me.
Yes.
It's very like, it's like this landscape, but it's like flowy, and it's like reminds you of like a river, like an inner river within yourself, but it's like these trees, and it's just like so visceral. And so it's so fun to like watch this kind of like style, like this creative style emerging out of you, because it's like it's so fun to follow you right now, because it's like you are in this kind of like developmental kind of like
Yes.
progression. And I went through the same thing when I was in art school, like doing portraiture, doing landscape, doing still lives, doing like all these like random things. And it's like through that investigation, and through like figuring out like through realism, and like painting portraits and painting landscapes, and trying all these different mediums, it's like you're able to kind of snowball, and like on the other end, like kind of like the Play-Doh, like the squeegee, like you put in all this stuff,
Yes.
and then it's like you squeeze
Right.
out like
See
that
what comes.
tiny string of like what is actually like at your core. And so I feel like it's
Right.
like coming out of you, and it's just like really fun to watch, and that process, and seeing like what's gonna happen, because it's like you have so much creative like energy like zooming, and it's just like fun to like see it kind of like coming into reality. And I can also say too, with the portraiture, it's like with the dancing and the figures, and even a lot of your animations are a lot of figurative, bodies, that like I
Yeah.
could totally see you going in that direction, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of fun. It's like
Yeah.
how our bodies exist in these landscapes too, and like that storytelling aspect
Mhm.
in creation. And I remember too, like you weave so he's also a photographer, to our listeners that don't
Oh
know.
yeah, and I love
You're
photography. That's part
amazing.
of probably why I love painting also.
Yeah, so you're an amazing photographer, and you capture nature like no one else I've ever seen, I think. And like I'm sorry, I'm just dishing out the compliments to you, Zoe, today, but I'm just like, I'm obsessed. I'm a big fan, big fan. Anyways, when I was kind of first getting into art, I was painting the ocean a lot, and I felt called to paint with purples and oranges. And I remember you
Mhm.
had posted a photograph that you had taken while you were in Greece, and it was like this
Yeah.
beautiful, bright, like electric orange sunset, and the colors were immaculate. Like the photograph looked like a painting, like the ripples and the waves, like the way you captured it. And then there's like this figure in the water, like experiencing this landscape. And so it's just like that image, when I think of you, I just always think of that image. And I have it in one of my
Oh,
older blog posts. I put that image in one of my blog posts, and
no way.
yeah, oh yeah, I have to send it to you. I think I did, because it was
That
like
was
the main color story inspiration for my work
okay.
too. So I'm for sure, and I'll link it in the show notes wherever you guys watch so you can see the blog post. But um that picture, it just, and the way that I think you were telling a story about it too, where you like took your camera, like ran down, or you could tell.
A bathrobe like right out of the shower and I saw the sun was setting and I was like, I gotta go. And so I was
Yeah.
in a bathrobe running with my camera and like this lady that was swimming, she must have known like something weird was going on because I just had my camera like low and was just snapping shots.
I love it.
I
It
know you're trying to have a peaceful time, but I need to get this photo.
Yeah, no, but like that's what like a true like documenting artist does. And I truly think like, and for me too, it's like I wouldn't be this artist that you guys see today if it weren't for my photography at the forefront of, the creative process, because the photography is the moment that you capture. It's like this moment that the camera is capturing, like what your eyes are experiencing, and it's like your whole body's experiencing this thing, and like, and I love like the story of like running out in your bathrobe, like to capture this moment, and you did. And it's just like, and then it's like this story is now being shared with people around the world. Like I'm seeing it and getting inspired, and I'm thinking like, me as the viewer, I like visualize myself as that woman in the water when I see it. And it's just like, it brings you this like overwhelming feeling of peace and joy and love and like expression and connection to God and our creator, and just like feeling, like a part of the world and a part of creation. And it just like has such a crazy, amazing, deep story around it. Um, so yeah, anyways,
And
I
I
don't know
think,
where we were going with that, but
I'm surprised I didn't mention photography like as part of my artistic journey because it always was just like
in the
something
background.
like fun I did, and I
Yeah.
was able to. I think I brought I got a digital camera when I was probably 12, and I love taking photos, and I was able to travel with my family a good bit, and like my favorite one of like the most exciting parts of traveling for me is taking photos,
Yeah.
and I think that the like the love of creation and like the appreciation and the gratefulness has come a lot from I think my eye has been trained to like look for the beauty,
Hmm.
and I think that was like with the camera lens, and that has like kind of transformed how I just look at like life every day,
Oh my
because
gosh,
it's
I
like
love that.
kind of yeah. And that helped. I actually did that another thing for 7 years. I just finished this past summer, but for 7 years, every day I would like take a second of video a day of my life.
Yeah.
And it got me to like really want to find like the beautiful, interesting things, even in like the mundane. So like
Hmm.
the coffee steam coming off my coffee cup, like it could be something like that, or just like my mom laughing. Like all those things kind of helped me like look for beauty every day. Which helps with your art because that means like you're finding inspiration everywhere.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes. I remember now that you brought that up. I've been following you for quite a while, and I remember I would look at those videos and be and feel very inspired, because they were so raw and real, and just like showing snippets of like your day-to-day life here, in the States. And, a big part of the theme of this show is like looking at our own lives and like reflecting on how we're creating the sense of joy and freedom and, this human flourishing and pursuing our passions on a daily basis here in this life, and also like thinking about like our relationship to Greece and how that influences our daily life here, and like allows us to see the world through these like kind of rose-colored glasses in a way, because we're like seeing things in the world because our hearts are so open to noticing things. And I think, I don't know, and you could speak on your experience too. I would love to hear of like how your experience of Greece and traveling in general has influenced, your daily routines here. Like maybe just expand a little more on that.
Yeah. So I mean, Greece was really special. I first visited when I was 10, and my mom's parents are from Greece. My mom, like my mom's grandmother, and then my papu's parents. So, and they're all
Okay,
from like a
nice.
area called Silokastro, which is Corinth area. It's right on the like
Yeah,
it's in the
yeah.
Peloponnese, and it's right, like, on the water there. And it
Beautiful.
was always like, yeah, I mean, unbelievably beautiful. It's like a hidden gem because it's like not
Hmm.
touristy at all. It's just like a little village. And
Hmm.
it's the beauty of like the water and like the peace of it, the stones that are all like beautiful colors, all those things really like I found amazing as a kid because I live in Florida, and like I'm used to the beach where we are with big waves and like sand and whatever. So that was on top of like the culture, just like the nature was so beautiful to me. The water, the mountains behind it, was all very like peaceful and beautiful. And when you mix that with then being able to go to like there are churches everywhere, and like it's just so ingrained in the culture. Orthodoxy is so ingrained in the culture that, and you feel it like in the people there. There's just like a love for you, and they don't know you, but they have the philotimo,
Yeah,
right?
like the
Philotimo?
Philotimon. It's like
Like,
this deep like hospitality and like lovingness
yes,
to like people, in hospitality, and like the philoxenia is another Greek word too, of being a friend to strangers. Like you were saying, like they
yes,
have this love for everyone, no matter, where you come from or who you are. They just take you in, they feed you, they love you, and it's
yes.
this energy.
That was like that. I mean, the warmth of that is overwhelming. So
Yeah,
you've got beautiful nature on top of like beautiful people that have these beautiful souls, and it was amazing to go to a place that like Orthodoxy was what like it is the primary thing that held pretty much holds everybody together there, even if
right,
they're like people our age in Greece don't go to church as much, and like it's not as
right.
it might
And I
not be
think,
as like,
oh,
oh, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, but I was going to say too, it's like the thing about Orthodoxy that people don't really understand or don't really get. It's like they kind of group Orthodoxy with like Christians in general. And it's like, but the Orthodox Christians in Greece, they are so spiritual, and they have this energy like from the monks on Mount Athos, where it's like this like saints literally walk around on these islands and on these lands, and these people are like in direct communication with God. And like, I don't know about you, but if you've read saint stories before, it's like you read about normal people, regular people that are walking the earth, that, dedicate their life to God. They have this like amazing connection, and it's like it's a personal friendship with God. It's like this personal experience. And each individual human in Greece, even though like they're not proclaimed saints, it's like each individual has this thing inside of them where it's like they are directly like communicating and experiencing God on a daily basis because they've allowed peace and stillness to enter into their lives in their daily life in Greece. It's like their lifestyle revolves around slow moving, and so gardening
Yes,
and swimming and being in nature and cooking and being with family and prioritizing their family first, and like just the way that they are living, it allows Christ and God to like live inside of them, and there's no
yep,
distractions, there's no, worldly like distractions like we have here, in America, where it's like phone, TV, running around to meetings and this and work and blah. It's like our lives are so stimulating that it doesn't allow time for this stillness to exist, within us. And so I think they're a huge example in how they live to show us like how to create this inner peace and create that relationship, that personal relationship with God and that like spirituality that a lot of people are seriously craving in today's society. Like people are
Yeah.
craving like spirituality and they try to find it in these other outlets, through, I don't know if you have friends or know people, but experimenting in different, religions or different ideologies, and trying and searching for this depth that is
Yep.
just, handed to us as Orthodox Christians. It's like
Yes.
we get it in a different level, because we've seen it being demonstrated through the lives of the saints and, these personal experiences, the miracles, like seeing things happen in Greece, like that just don't make sense, that can't be explained logically. Like, have you been to St. Theodora in Greece?
Yes.
The church?
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's a crazy story. I thought, okay, so I got to go to Greece. Okay, yeah, sorry. I
You
got to
can
go to
tell us.
Greece.
I mean, you can explain the
uh,
church just really quick.
Yes. So I got to go to Greece on my own. I was actually there to I was commissioned to go to a wedding to photograph it, like just take my own photos personally, not actually like be the wedding photographer, but just take some photos to then come home and paint it. And so somebody actually like was like generous enough to fly me there to do that.
Cool.
So
That's really cool.
I like took time to go like other places as well. And there was one, like I was in the Peloponnese and I was like, I think on this day, like I have a car. So I'm like, maybe on this day when I'm gonna go to my Yaz village, maybe I'll go like down to Aya Theodora because I hear it's so beautiful, and then I'll go up. And it turns out that was her feast day. Like
No
out of
way.
the 365 days a year, I somehow chose that day. And I had the kindest people. They were like, you can't drive yourself. You can't drive yourself. Well, we're going to drive you. There's no way you can do that yourself. So they drove me there, made
Oh,
sure like I was okay when I was there because it's like tons of people. And then they
wow.
drove me, but it was, we got there early and I got to see the church without anybody there. And it's a tiny little chapel, stone
Mhm.
chapel that has huge trees growing out of it,
Yeah,
and there are
7
no roots.
giant trees. Go ahead.
Giant trees.
Yeah.
Giant trees, there are no roots, and it's been intact I don't know how many hundreds of years. And
Mhm.
scientists can't figure out like how these trees are growing and how they're still alive. And
And
so
like how
it
like in our scientific, world where everything needs to make sense and everything needs to be logical, this building is not structurally, there's no foundation to this building. This building is literally like random like bricks like put together, and there are 7 heavy, like giant trees on this little structure. And so the story behind it too is Saint Theodora was about to get raped and murdered by the Turks coming in to kill her. And she had such a close, intimate relationship with God. She said, in order to spare my life and to let me continue living, make my blood a river. And so there is a little river that streams out of the church, make my body like a church, a temple. And so her physical body turned into the temple, and then her hair should let my hair become trees. And so it's just so beautiful that like to save her and preserve her body and preserve her story, like God literally like this sounds like a fairy tale to other people. Like this sounds so impossible, but it's like it's true, and it just doesn't
miracle, it's
transcends
undeniable, it's in front of
it
you.
transcends
Like,
logic. Wait, what were
yes.
you gonna
And I
say?
think that's it's I mean it's undeniable. It's right there in front of you and it just exists there. It's like
Mhm.
there's no getting around it. It exists. Which I
Right.
think is it's just yeah, it's unbelievable and such a gift that we're able to experience something like that. We're not used to seeing anything like that in the States. And I
Hmm.
think like one of the things that I think is so beautiful about the Greek people is even so like I feel like in the US like we're very logical about our faith, and that's
Hmm.
happened because the West has kind of gone in like a it started going in the we need to describe things in scientific language and think about things in that way.
Hmm.
So the Greeks, like even like the ones today that are there that maybe they're not reading the church fathers and they're not like experts on theology, but they just have like this deep rooted faith that is so inspiring.
Yes.
And yeah, it's like there
And
you couldn't have like a discussion about dogma with them, and yet they like just have complete faith. Like I knew somebody that was like, oh, I was hungry, and so I prayed to God that He would feed me, and I came home and somebody left oranges on my front door. Like,
it happens all the
whose
time in
ears
Greece.
like that? Like,
It's
like whose ears
common.
like they got?
Yeah, I think it's beautiful too that we're just even talking about it because a lot of people don't even know this part of why we are so obsessed with our culture and our spirituality and our relationship to Greece and the people. It's more than just, and that's what I really try to put out in my work too. It's like this spiritual reality that you can't always see with your visible eyes, but it's like transcending reality and showing you the spiritual side of our experience, so that's, I love, investigating that through my paintings and through art. And orthodoxy, runs so deep in my heart and my veins and my ancestors. I have stories, from my grandmother too, when she was in Greece and she was living in the village. They were starving. It was like the middle of the war. She had 9 siblings. They had no food. Like they were not in good conditions and they were praying for food. And this old man came to their village and dropped off a bag of rice, like out of nowhere. And when she looked back to see like where he went, he completely vanished, like completely, like was just like gone. And so fast forward now, like, um, this is now like 50 years, let's say. My grandma's in America. She had immigrated to America and she sees this image of this saint. And she was like, oh my God, like I recognize this man. And she knew exactly who he was because she remembered that was the man that brought them rice when they were starving in the village. And it was Saint Cosmas of Aitolos. And he basically like saved like my grandma and like all the siblings, but they all love this saint now. But they discovered him like later in life as old adults.
Wow.
And it's just so interesting. And then my godfather, my yaya's brother, he built a church in the village there, dedicated to the saint. And it's just so crazy how like God works through the people there. And like Saint Cosmas was just a regular person, a villager, but he had this divine connection with God and he answered prayers and he was like a little, like investigator on the ground, like sprinkling and spreading joy and helping people in his life.
Mm.
And it's like now it's like it's just so cool to think about like the way that we're creating and sharing and spreading and teaching. It's like these little seeds like we can hopefully like start to plant in other people's hearts like through art and through our message and through creativity. It's like this is like our vocation in life is to spread that joy similar to how the saints like would sprinkle things in people's lives.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I love
That's
that and I love
beautiful.
how we have
Wow.
so
What
much
a
in
beautiful.
common about our faith and our roots. I think it's really beautiful. So thank you, Zoe, for being
It's
so
really
open
beautiful.
and speaking about your experiences. I love it.
Ah,
Do you have anything you want to add? Just like just riffing off of this topic.
I mean, I don't think so. I think you kind of, I don't know. I feel like you showed like this, the simpli like, I think what's so beautiful about Orthodoxy is that it is for the most educated and the most uneducated. There's like unbelievable depth to it,
Mhm.
and there's unbelievable like ability um to communicate the beauty that we find in Orthodoxy like in different ways through
Mhm.
like philanthropy, through like neighborliness, through people that are like doctors and like healing people, and then also for like people like us who are trying to create beauty and like
Mhm.
have people appreciate like something beautiful because that's what God's created for us.
Right.
So
Yes. I love
yeah,
that. And it's
something.
just like we can only aspire and, continue to live our lives in like a way that, is creating peace. It's creating, a spiritual connection with others. It's it's like our daily life is what leads us to this ultimate feeling of freedom and liberation and, creative flow and joy in our hearts is like through that personal relationship, through, knowing God and knowing our creator and letting that energy exude through the artwork that we're creating. And so others can experience, the visual art and feel that passion and history and culture and, all of that force, that unwritten or unspoken force, through the artwork. So I think that's really, really cool. All right, so let's start kind of transition and start to talk about the show that's coming up in March and the piece that you are creating specifically. I know that you are so excited and you're creating a new painting from scratch, which to me is a big feat. Like creating a painting is like, it's such a process, and I'm so honored that you were feeling inspired to create something special for the show that demonstrates, your human experience of feeling joy and peace and tranquility and all of the things, and so can you just talk to us about like your creative process and selecting a theme for the piece? And like, I know you write too, so like how are your wheels turning and like what are you creating for the show? Just kind of tell us.
I think that, I mean, the theme of it's so beautiful when we first spoke about this like months ago,
Mhm.
of finding like taking what we've like experienced in Greece and like the joy and the peace that we find there and like the beauty and like how do we bring that into our everyday life?
Mhm.
And that really like struck me because I had just moved to a home like for the first time. We've been like I just got married last year and I've been in apartments all those years. So we just moved into a home, thank God. And one of the things that we love so much about it is like we get to look out and see something beautiful every day. We have a beautiful view of a lake and pine trees, and
Beautiful.
it's just really stunning. So in the evenings we would like sit outside, especially when it's a little warmer. It's like cold here in Florida, like it's
No,
like
it's cold.
55 degrees. We're a little
It's
cold.
like
Um,
it's like 13 here.
I'm so excited to come. But like watching the sunset is so beautiful, and I've always loved sunsets. I joked for like a while it was like the only reason I ran was to find a sunset.
Oh,
Um, and like you
I
can't
love
make me run any other way. But so so I have a a camera, and I had taken some photos of a really beautiful sunset like just a couple days before we spoke, and like just sitting out there watching the sunset with my husband. It's like this is beautiful, like this is peaceful, this is you feel like you can breathe and just like experience something. You're not looking at a phone, you're not looking at anything else, you're just looking at something beautiful. And I'm blessed to have somebody next to me that I love to be able to do that with. So
Mhm.
when we spoke, I thought about that scene, and I went and looked at like the photos I had taken from that evening, and there was one that I just thought was really beautiful and kind of captured this idea of like in Greece we get to look at a lot of the times you're looking at beautiful water, and it's very peaceful behind our house. And so there's like peaceful water, a beautiful sunset, which in Greece the sunsets are like gorgeous. And so I felt like this is my little Greece at home. Like this is what I get to look at. So I decided to, and then I was really inspired by something like I guess something multiple things. So like I'm taking a more like whimsical approach with it versus like very natural, like exactly what I saw from the photo. Um,
We love that.
because I think there's like a something that I love with iconography in Orthodoxy is like I really love like the mysticism that is put into like how they portray things,
Mhm.
and how it makes you're not just receiving exactly what's like reality, but it's like making you think past reality. It's making you think in a spiritual way. It's
Yeah.
something I just started reading about, like and with there's a man named Saint, no, not Saint, but Father Maximus that's talked about this or something like that. Anyways, so
Wait,
I've always loved.
in the books, in the Mountain of Silence books? Is
No, it's The Art of Seeing. It's a book about iconography.
Ooh, I think so. Father Maximus is also written about. I don't know if it's the same Father Maximus. Sorry for the side,
Okay.
but I read. You have to read Inner River. That's the book I'm reading right
Okay.
now. It's so good. And Mountain of
Okay.
Silence. It's the same
I've
author.
read that.
Mountain of Silence. So the sequel is Inner River. My sister Joanna, that you
Okay.
know, she gave it to me, and it's but they talk about Father Maximo. So I'm wondering if it's the same one. But anyways, okay, continue. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, so he but I've always but despite not knowing that, like the beauty of
Mhm.
orthodoxy, it's like I've always been drawn to in iconography, like the backgrounds and the nature, and I love how they like create those things on top of the beautiful representations of uh like the saints.
Mhm.
So I kind of like want to take a little bit more of a whimsical approach with it. So it's like pine trees and there's like the water and we have beautiful birds in our backyard that we become bird watchers, and so they're like ibises flying, which are these little white birds with long orange beaks.
Cool.
And I just yeah, I'm working on that right now, and it's been a kind of a process of like I sort of like I have the photo, I have some artists, like there's an Australian artist named Sydney Long who had done some really beautiful like whimsical trees that I thought were like really amazing. So I had like that as inspiration, and then I had like digitally mocked up like, well, maybe this is the composition I want, and I started with that, and then I sort of started changing things. So it's kind of going back and forth, but that's what I'm hoping to create. That's what will be there in
Ooh,
Chicago.
I love like hearing about your creative process and how it started with this photo and this memory and this moment and your different renderings and how you're pulling from like other artists and you're pulling from like ancient, iconography practices. It's like you're kind of that's like what a good artist does is like you pull from different sources and you kind of weave it into creating your own, original work. And this is what I teach my students too, how to do this.
Mhm.
And I love everything that makes complete sense. And I would love, I don't know if you have your picture nearby, but if you want to
A
show us like
photo here. Wait,
a
I can show you.
progress, I know it might be rough and it's not finished and it's okay, but I think we would just like to just maybe get like a super sneak peek of like maybe, or even the
Here.
photo. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to see it because we,
I can show. I can show like what I've mocked up so far.
ooh,
And
yeah,
I'll show you
honestly, secretly, I really did want to
actually
see the mock-up. So I have this like
you
weird,
don't?
no, I really do. I secretly
Okay, okay.
wanted to see it.
So this is first of all, this is the photo that I took of the
Ooh,
backyard.
nice.
Okay.
That's some
And
good.
then but I wanted something where like the trees felt really tall and like and this isn't exactly what it's gonna look like, but this is kind of it's like a just a sort of mock up of where I'm going with it. So I don't know if you can see it.
Ooh. Oh,
And then
oh.
so right now all I've done is I've already like done the pine trees and then I painted over them twice now. So right now I'm just working on like the background. It's so hard to see oh my gosh.
Oh,
But
nice.
that's I don't know if you can tell.
Love.
So I'm just working on the
Cool.
background right now. The pine trees are gonna come next. But
Nice.
with oil, you have to like wait for stuff to dry and then
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool though. I think that like the theme and like the, the ideas and like the composition, it's so fresh and interesting and like I think it's like gonna come I know it's gonna, fruit fruit come into fruition like into this beautiful painting and I can't wait to see it and I feel like so honored that you're participating and you're gonna have like this original work of art being created specifically for this exhibition. So it's like a one of a kind piece, created specially for this. And hopefully, someone who joins us at the exhibition resonates with it and feels a personal connection to it. Cause that's also like our goal as artists. It's like, yes, we're creating from our own experiences, we're creating from our own heart, from our own soul. And the goal is for that energy to radiate through the painting and for someone else to then become a magnet to it and like want
yeah.
to experience it daily in their own life, in their own spaces, in their own home. And so I just think that whole process of the artist creating and the collector collecting, it's just like a beautiful synchronicity and like almost like a collaboration. It's like a love match, I like to call it, because it's like It's like it's created in love and then it's like received in love, and it's a really beautiful, experience to be able to share, your paintings with the world.
Yeah, it's like so special if somebody wants something that you made. Like,
Mhm.
really? Like, thank
Right.
you.
It's like you connect with it, but it's true. It's like it takes that one heartstring, and someone to like resonate, and then it's just, it's a match made in heaven. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm so excited that you're coming and we're doing the show, and I love how the piece is your Greece here in America, and it's just like totally like in like flow with all the other art from the other artists. So I recently spoke on the phone with Theodora Millier. She's another one of our artists participating in the show, and she also was. We were having this amazing conversation about, you guys have to go watch that one next. If you're watching this one, go watch Theodora's interview too. It was such an amazing conversation. And she was like, she wants to make something custom for the show too. And she does these beautiful blooming girl orchids. And she was like, maybe I want to do like a custom color to kind of like fit cohesively with the other artists and like what they're doing. She's like, once we get better, idea, like maybe you could just tell me like what colors I could put in the flowers. And
Oh, cool.
immediately I thought of the orange sunset that you're going to be doing. And I was like, you should do like a vibrant poppy, orange. And I really think that these like deep, beautiful, like rustic, like sunset oranges are going to, contrast so beautifully with the blues that are going to be throughout, the exhibition. There's going to be a lot of oranges, a lot of deep, rich sunsets. Theodora is going to weave the orange into her flowers. So it's going to be a really fun conversation between the art pieces in the exhibition. And then Theodora Pavlou, my other friend, she's from Chicago. She's also a painter, and she is also creating like this beautiful landscape of Greece. And it's like the ocean with this other like worldly, like vibrant sunset as well. So it's like
Wow.
we're gonna have these kind of like parallel sunsets from you being like your experience in Florida and then Theodora's experience from Greece. And like they're really gonna kind of mirror each other and like play off of each other in a really fun way. And I just can't wait to see all the works together in one room. It's gonna be like a very amazing experience for not only us as artists to see the work, communicating with other work of arts, but, to share it and experience it, and share it and show it like lots of people who are coming to the
Yeah.
event. So it's going to be
I
great.
can't wait to see. I'm so excited. And I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see what you have there. And like I can't, yeah, I'm really pumped for it. So
Yeah,
thank you
I'm
so much.
excited. I'm really excited. Um, So before we sign off, too, I just want to remind everyone to go follow Zoe at Zoco Creative, and you have Zoe Fine Art, right?
Yes. Zoe
Okay.
Khoury Fine Art. Yeah.
And your photography page, right?
Yes. Zoe
Okay.
Khoury dot photography.
Yeah, we'll have all of her Insta links linked, so make sure to follow her. She's a super fun follow. You have like so many cool things. You're always working on fun things, so it's nice to see, where the creative juices flow. So make sure you guys follow Zoe, and then make sure you save the date for March 1st at Celestial Art Curation in Hinsdale. We're going to be there in the flesh from 3 to 5 for our artist panel discussion. And we are going to have our reception following. And then we also might go out for an after party at Fuller House down the block. So just a fun little thing that's going to be happening that day. It'll be really fun. The exhibition will be up throughout the month of March. So if you miss March 1st, you can see it throughout the month of March. And thank you guys for watching. I'm so excited. All right, we're going to